Hey, welcome in IoT Decoded podcast, the podcast on the LP1 technologies. This month we have a specific podcast. We are talking a lot of Sigfox Connect. It's the yearly event of Sigfox. It was a few days ago in Singapore, and we had a lot of enhancements that are really interesting for the LP1. So today it's going to be a special podcast, a bit longer than usual, because I have a long discussion with really interesting guys. They are some of the Sigfox ambassadors coming from different countries and different business. You may know that Sigfox ambassador, we are all independent guys. Okay, we really like Sigfox technologies, but we also work on LoRaWAN and so on. So we are really independent, and so we have a round table together to share our opinion on what has been announced by Sigfox this year. So it will be a bit later in the podcast. Right now we're gonna start with talking a bit about Sigfox news about current growth, the announcement that has been made on private network, and a quick details on ultra low power and ultra low cost stuff, and some update about bubble and satellite Hello. So let's start by quick news. What has been announced during Connect was an interesting growth for the network communication. You know this year Sigfox, that's the first time they are talking about connected devices. Okay, usually they were talking about signed contract, but now they are talking about connecting devices, which is really concrete stuff. So the number of connected devices this year is 16 million. Wow! It was something like 3 and some million years ago. It means a growth by 457%. Woo! That's really big, and it's really a good things for LP1. I'm really happy. Because, you know, in my first podcast, I was complaining a bit with the EHS study where they, 5 months ago, announcing a growth for network by 2. Okay, guys, in 5 months, you made a big mistake. It's 5.6. Woo! Oh, sorry, 4.6. So, I'm really happy for Sigfox to see that growth, and I'm really happy because, in my point of view, it means IoT is booming this year. So that's great. And more than the 16 million devices, it's 24 million messages proceed per day by Sigfox. So that's really booming. That's really interesting. Oh, in the other news that has been made, we had private network. Okay, that's a big surprise for me, and I push you to see my details on my post on www.dask91.com. But I think that's an interesting marketing response to LoRaWAN, and it's a good way to continue to work with companies who are looking for private network, and maybe push them at the end to go to public network. What I don't like in private network is basically you're gonna have some interesting antenna in non-covered zone. Anyone could benefit of the presence of this antenna, but someone tells, no, that's mine. Even if the antenna is receiving the messages, I don't want them to be used by user. We're gonna trash it. Okay, basically that's private network. Oh, you know, I'm more open source guy, so I love TTN. So its concept is a bit frightening me. So I just hope that it's gonna be just a marketing stuff, and at the end, most of the new antenna will be public. And by the way, I mean, if company want to pay upfront to have a capex instead of opex, and they want to be the bank of Sigfox by paying 10 years of communication and one shot based on a base station business, well, why not? At the end, I mean, that can be good for Sigfox and good for the market. Okay, so my opinion on private network, that was a big surprise to me, but it's a shift. Let's see what it's going to be. Other things were on ultra low power and ultra low cost devices. So ultra low cost devices, I'll give you a lot in the last podcast. What's new? It has been announced by Sigfox. It's officially supported, and you have a ref design that has been published and now available. So it means that you can easily make your own ultra low cost device if you want. And to show us that, they have distributed a button which is basically the result of the reference design. And this button you can check on my website, dsk91.com, and you will find all the cost estimate I've been able to make for this button. You will see that the BOM is about €1.5 for 10K pieces. And if you add all the tooling, certification, and so on to finish, to make it an industrial device, you are around €3 for 10K pieces. That's really based on public price, so something you can optimize. And for sure, if you go to 100,000 devices, you will really tend to €1 per device. So that's basically the promise for this kind of ultra low cost devices. Ultra low power, what's really interesting to see is that we can power a Sigfox device through potatoes, but more interesting, you can do that through electromagnetic field around, like a Wi-Fi, for example. It can be a bit long to charge your capacitor, maybe half a day or maybe a day, but if you can send a message per day with no battery, just getting energy around, I think that's really interesting. You have many industrial application. As the coverage is a couple of hundreds of meters, so it means that it's good for a building or industrial warehouse or thing like this. So that's really interesting. That's a microwatt communication, around minus 20 dBs, and it can go to hundreds of meters up to some kilometers in open field. So that could be interesting. So let's see that, because currently it's a proof of concept that has been made by Sigfox. Basically, they say it's possible to make a device for this. This device costs a couple of cents, and our network is able to support such device just by software upgrade. Okay, so this is what they say. And say now you are an industrial company, you want to benefit it. Yeah, let's work together to industrialize this solution and make it a reality. So stay tuned. We're gonna see how this evolve in the coming year. So last point on what has been not announced, but the update from last Connect. What I can say is what is interesting is this year the Sigfox shows that the promise that has been made during the previous Connect event are becoming a reality, and Sigfox is getting on the promise they have done. Well, that's interesting because, ultra low cost, it's finally what Christophe has shown on the first Connect in Prague with a letter which is communicating when you open it. And now it's a reality with this design. So that's interesting. A bubble was announced on a previous Connect in Berlin. And now Bubble is a reality with an industrial product. It has been demoed for all the visitors of Connect in Singapore with connected badge. We were able to locate inside the event, so it was easy to find someone in the event, just searching him and getting its last position. So Bubble is there, it works. It's really interesting, and also Hello, the satellite. So we get an update. It was planned to be launched in December this year, and it's postponed to first semester next year. But it's also something which is really tangible, even if we need to have this first satellite to have the proof of concept. But we already know that the device should be a standard device with a specific reception capability for listening a satellite device, the beacon, and be able to transmit at the right time to have a large chance to be get by the satellite. So lots of updates, and that was really interesting. So now I'm letting the floor to all the ambassador. Sorry for the sound, it's not perfect. We made it on a rooftop of our hotel outside, and there is some noise around, but I hope that you're gonna be able to follow this, as even if the sound quality is not perfect, the quality of the member and the round table is really, really great. So floor is your guy, ambassador. Hey, so I'm with the different Sigfox ambassador today. Maybe you can introduce a bit yourself, Mark, if you want to start.
Hey, I'm Mark Pous. I'm based in Barcelona. I'm the founder of the Things.io. It's an IoT platform. We help companies to collect data, analyze it, and visualize it. I'm also the founder of the IoT meetup in Barcelona and Munich, and founder of a party that we do about IoT during the Mobile World Congress, IoT Stars.
I am Jose. I'm in the UK, Newcastle upon Tyne. I work at Risk Innovation. We do IoT devices, and I'm always looking for the next thing.
I'm Claudio Pino. I'm Italian but based in Switzerland now. I'm the ambassador for Italy and Switzerland. I'm mainly a hardware designer. I design the symbol like Smart Everything and Maker 1200 for Arduino.
So we are today in Singapore. We are here for Sigfox Connect' 2019, and yesterday we had some interesting announcements from Sigfox for the future. I think one of the main announcements is more research on ultra low power, so like transmitting information for some microwatts and eventually power Sigfox transmission through a potato. So what do you think of this? Is that something really a breaking change, or just what do you think of this?
I think that this low power is something that Sigfox has been trying to is pursuing since the beginning, to have a very low power technology that transmits information. We saw like long time ago.
Yes, 3 years ago we saw that in La Beige all together.
Exactly, but actually the year before we worked with Sigfox to visualize like a expedition in the Arctic, Finland or Norway, I don't remember, with some dog sledge to position the dogs in the middle of the Arctic expedition. And they were using this energy harvesting dog collars, for example.
Oh, yeah.
So this is something that they are working on since long time ago, and it's really cool because you think on technology, you think that the energy that the data centers, that blockchain and Bitcoin needs to do to create these technologies. But on the other hand, you also, or even the families that don't have enough money to pay the energy bills at home. And then you see that other features are possible now with really low power consumptions to reach this information.
Yeah, and Sigfox is like uniquely positioned for this because it's so simple protocol. It doesn't need to attach to a network, or the device just needs to send really, so it can go into sleep almost immediately. It's a pretty good protocol for low power. Yeah.
Yes, one interesting thing is that you have a network that is global. So it's a unique case of a telecom, if you want to go in this way, where you have a global network. This means that you can do tracking, real tracking. It's the only technology that permits this. Because with other technologies you have a problem like roaming that is not existent, almost not existent with Sigfox.
That's right. But I was also interested in those technologies that, it's not really a Sigfox that is transmitted. The protocol is the same, but the radio layer is different to be really low power. And thanks to the base stations that are really SDR base station, they can add some different radio protocol on the stack. Mm-hmm. So with the existing network, they can have a firmware upgrade to deploy this new ultra low power technology, and that's pretty cool. I think they can innovate thanks to that. That's
yeah, like with LoRa, the protocol is fixed by the chipset, so you can't really change it. So in Sigfox, it's very flexible. You can add new protocols. It's pretty good good place to be, and I think for Sigfox, being SDR based, this is really the way forward. And you also see this in LTE, so even base stations nowadays are SDRs. Of course, it has a bit more cost to it, more energy maybe, but I think it's worth it.
Another key point is the distance that the device can reach with this technology, because it's really more important than other technology.
It is 100 of meter, if I understand well, indoor. So it's really good to have a factory coverage or deposits coverage. So that's.
And there was a question about the interference, and I think that's also been addressed in the new protocol. So while previously you might have some interference, I think that's been looked at and fixed. So it should be working well in the factory. Actually, I'm keen to try it and see how it in our factory, see how it pairs out.
That's cool, and the technology is really simple. It's only there is a small microcontroller and passive component around, so it's really cheap. Yeah, that's good. But seems they have some work to make it an industrial product, but it's
We'll see, maybe not.
Yeah. I saw the informators that are booming in the media. In my point of view, what's less interesting yesterday? Booming on the media. Hey, Sigfox has a private network capability. Yeah. So, guys, will you create your own private Sigfox network in the coming days?
It's weird. It was everywhere, right? Why was that? I don't get it.
I think they are competing automatically with LoRa. They are getting into a market where they were not accepted because they were not the companies couldn't control the data. But it's what we talked yesterday, So our emails are being controlled by Microsoft or Google, Sometimes having this data go through, so even encrypted data, go through a third-party network. Sometimes should be okay. I don't know. It depends. Every company has its own tech strategy. So.
For me, it looks like a kind of just a marketing point of view, because totally. It's instead of paying a fee per devices per year, you are going to pay a fee per gateway per year. But that's not a big difference in my point of view.
Well, probably it's a big change on capex and opex cost.
Yeah.
So they will stop paying a lot of recurrent revenue, recurrent cost. I don't know. In Germany, maybe some companies, they are pushing to go towards that model.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that some companies are pushing that model. But I mean, by the past, you were a company looking for a Sigfox project, and you had a question about coverage. So you are paying a fee per device, and Sigfox were providing for free the antenna to cover your use case. So now you say, okay, I want to deploy the network for my company or my city. So you pay Sigfox for deploying the antenna, and so you say, okay, so I won't pay a fee for the device in that area. So you pay more upfront, maybe, and less OPEX.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end, what I mean is, I'm not sure it's really a private network. I mean, I'm not sure you are going to buy your base station on AliExpress or Amazon and install your network and make a clone of the Sigfox backend on your cloud environment.
And even hybrid models, okay, when it gets into my warehouse, it goes into the private network, but when the asset leaves my warehouse, it gets connected to the public network. I don't know even if these hybrid models will be possible or not, because that's pretty complex to manage because of the way that the Sigfox signal works. It's complicated to say, no, this signal shouldn't be accepted by the public base stations. And must be accepted only by these private. I don't know if that's possible. I don't think so. That you can ban a signal to get accepted into a specific base station.
In my point of view, the signal will go to the public backend every time, and eventually the public backend will not receiving as if you did not subscribe for a device. Okay. It will be trash, but it's a question of routing. The information is in the air, so until I get it.
Exactly.
Do you think this makes sense? Like we saw some big players like DHL showing some new products, Michelin as well. Who will buy such a private network? I don't. Maybe what kind of Siemens type companies? What? I'm not sure.
Probably I can see industrial companies that say my data keeps in my factory. I can see a lot of. We have experience with a lot of automotive companies that they say we have to keep all of our data inside, etc. Yeah. So maybe it makes sense for this type of industries where. I don't know.
But which make a bit complex for me is, I mean, in the ecosystem you have two kind of element provider. You have a hardware provider, so basically you have a temperature sensor and you can buy it. So you can put it on the private networks. That's no big deal with that. But you also have service provider. And service provider, they have a device, but they use a network, and at the end they deliver a service. So this is passing through the public network, and in my point of view, it's just making more complicated if you want to connect your service to a mix of different private backend, and it's well. I mean, you're a bit.
Exactly. We do this. No, but
at this point,
I imagine that technically will be the same. So we have this experience with private LoRa networks, for example, no, where at the end the gateway send the data to a local endpoint on a server that has an IP in the local network. So it shouldn't be any different. So you will have, well, probably the base station or the backend will have or internet connectivity, or will have connection by DNS or by local IP with a system internal or even in the cloud where it can send the data. So I think this is pretty simple. It shouldn't be a problem because it's what they. So if you go to an automotive company, this is what they are doing today. So they have like the VI tool, whatever, or the SIP that runs locally. So the only thing that they need to do is to create another workflow where from a backend.sigfox.local sends data to a local IP. So shouldn't be a problem, I think.
Yeah, it means that you need to manage your callback from different
I think it will be this way,
so that's one thing. I think the other thing is a question of business. Today when you're selling a service, you also say, okay, but I'm dealing with the telecom side, and that's why you are paying a regular fee. And if the guy say, yeah, but I already pay for the telecom because I'm a private network and so on, you will have to justify the value of your service more. It's always a complex
situation. Then the business model change, and then it's more based on setup fees and development time and just a license fee probably.
Yeah, more than
something flexible and OPEX. So it's more going to CapEx totally. Like, okay, this costs that amount of money, yearly based maybe or not. And then, for example, now we charge maintenance fee. So this is like the recurrent revenue, no? But and then you charge everything at the beginning, like a license fee or setup fee, and then you get this more or less same money or even more money probably because of the complexity.
On the thing.io, I mean, you also are looking to have a private version of your platform for this kind of usage, or you still have one?
We have an on-premise version of the Things.io, so we are working with clients with their own, with the Things.io privately stored. Usually we work on these solutions. We install it on Amazon or Azure or cloud, so platforms as a service. We don't have any client running the Things.io locally on a server. We didn't. Probably this is not our niche market, but we could do it.
It's already a demand you had and covered.
Then we changed the business model to a license fee, a yearly license fee, and not like monthly fee depending on your amount of devices.
Okay, so it makes sense for you.
Yeah.
So now the $1 design, I mean low cost. Sigfox don't say $1, say ultra low cost devices.
That's the biggest news, isn't it, Paul?
I won't talk about this. I already had a podcast on it, but what you're feeling on this announcement? The rough design has been published, so anyone now can design such object really quickly. You have project all of you on this kind of technology?
I would like to know more deeply is new to me because I discovered now also in this event. So it's very interesting for application where you can lose your device. Okay, so one way, one usage, it's very important.
Yeah, it's the next step for like almost disposable. You don't want to dispose of them, but really it's the next step for that. So you can track. You can imagine tracking almost anything.
It opens a new business model.
Exactly. Yeah. So many ideas now. You can I can track that, or I can. It's like there's no limit now. You can just and maybe you get it in a sticker format or something that is really cool to use. Like that'll be a really interesting.
You can track the soap that you sell.
Yeah, you can track.
So
and maybe if you add a little bit of data, I mean, you know, I know you have a bit of data now. One bit.
1 bit. Yeah. After 12 bytes, now we reach the 1 bit.
And that's already useful, like for a button or something. But we can, if we can add a bit more, maybe be really interesting.
You can track the product, for example. You sell products, so you can have an idea what happened. Because,
if you can monitor temperature, for example, you can. It's opens such a huge market, like so many things that you can track now.
No, totally. We see a lot of this disposable hardware. We see a lot of use cases now in logistics and supply chain. It's so you can reach a market that today was not open because they use disposable materials as well. So you cannot go into a wooden pallet because it costs 20 euros. So you cannot go with a 100 tracker, with 100 euro tracker. The other side, it's what's the value, of connecting that wooden pallet and even the OPEX cost, what we were discussing before, how. So it's $1 device, but how much will be all the service on the top of that?
Sure. At first, the network cost for communicating, that's an important.
So on technology, everything is possible. Now on business, we have to see what's possible.
Maybe you can now start thinking, maybe I should add this hardware to my device and then enable it later, something like that during manufacturing. So a lot of companies do that. They just put the chips in, but they don't enable it until later.
But how do you enable this tracker? So once it's installed, how do you enable it? How do you say start working now?
Some event related to the design, to the product.
But this technology, actually, how do you enable this? How do you say start working now?
Just power it?
Of course. No, that's an easy answer. But if it's inside like a boot system and it's not easily reachable, so you cannot install it and say start working when you move.
You can be sending always and then only have the actual token subscription when you need it. So
but the problem is probably the battery lifetime.
Yeah, but you can imagine devices with mains powered, things like that, so you can already add that in.
But basically you can make a simple firmware on it, just to have some GPIO, and if you trigger a level 1 on a GPIO, you fire a message. Like the message is, only 1 bit or just a message itself, with no information, no payload. Basically you can make something like the buttons they are showing, you just 1 bit and it fire messages.
Okay.
It's actually very low power as well, isn't it, Paul?
When it's deep sleep, it's 300 nanoampere.
Okay.
Wow.
So
you can just have it there, basically. It's amazing.
So guys, last question on all the booths you've seen or the startups that pitched yesterday. Is there one booth or one startup you think that's really interesting and you want to share your experience with it today?
Well, I saw I like the HT Micro booth because I just like new chips and stuff like that. So it's a new module from Brazil actually, so it's quite different from the usual stuff I see.
What is the difference compared to what you've seen usually?
So I think they are the first system package with Monarch certification. Yes. But it's just being made in Brazil. It's like kind of different. It's not the same made in Taiwan or made in China. So it's just nice to see some other countries doing it. They have an interesting team as well. So it was good to meet them. And the Unibis, of course, it's always doing like lots of stuff. And they,
The deals I've announced yesterday,
Yeah.
that was really great. It's 850,000 gas counter connected in Japan. So that's
Crazy.
In 16
congratulations,
months,
guys.
In 16 months.
Yeah, in
to
16
run away.
months.
Imagine just installing that. It's like, wow, just blows
Yeah.
your mind, really.
You have to go home by home.
You need a big team for that.
Well, they already have, no? They go to check all the counters, so probably the person who wants to check the counter will connect this the next time.
Yeah, but it's a new device as well. They've created a new device. So
Yeah, they still need to go through certifications, etc. So it will be fun.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, with gas, isn't it? It's like difficult. You need ATEX and all sorts of.
Yesterday, I've seen on LinkedIn another company who work on a different network, and they are a private network they are deploying, and they were really happy because they have signed a new contract, and now they reach 250,000 network of metering stuff, and say, okay, wow. They are working since more than a year, so something like 18 months. They are reaching 250, and now we have this announcement of 850,000. It's that's the advantage of public network. You don't spend time to deploy the network. You just plug it. That's amazing.
well, they had to deploy the network first, but not in Japan. But yeah, it's interesting how this, how they move. So my 5 cents on the conference. You start to see companies taking growth, no? You see that first companies that start growing, others still keeping in the mid market, small medium market, but some of them are starting.
Yeah, we also see that with the numbers that have been shared yesterday by Sigfox, the growing number of messages per day. Last year it was 3.5 million, if I remember when. The year before it was 2.2 million, so the growth was not.
That was the connected devices, huh?
Yeah, and per day messages per day related to the number of connected devices. And this year it's 22 million. So we are booming from 3.5 to 22 million in a year. It's really impressive growth.
So you still
That's
think
very
we
well,
will reach 1 billion devices anytime soon? Maybe.
2020, no?
That's messages per day, so.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
different.
Well, okay. Well, we'll probably see 1 billion devices, I'm sure, in 5 years, let's say, 10 years.
5 years, you think so?
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe 5-10 years.
With $1 devices, you can just put
Yeah,
it anywhere
yes,
now, like
increase
every
can
tile
boom.
on the floor.
So that's why active devices is a more interesting concern than delivered IDs.
No, I think that is as well relevant, the satellite thing, that at the end of 2020, there will be this possibility, to send data through satellite connectivity with the Eutelsat. I think there are like a lot of regions in the world that with no cap, so it's very hard to cover the US, Mexico,
like seas,
Brazil.
like ocean, basically.
Or even the ocean or Australia, or etc. So I think it's an interesting technology.
Yeah. And what I heard is a kind of classical devices with one difference is you have to listen for satellite beacon to really be in sync when you are going to transmit, but the device design in terms of modulation, power, antenna can be the same as the usual device. So that's also interesting.
Yeah, you see lots of players doing different things. So I think Sigfox is the only one doing the beacon stuff. So that's one approach. I think others are using time-based, or you have to download a chart of satellites from frequently. But it's nice to see what Sigfox is doing. It's a bit different, so we'll see. Hopefully they will nail it and get it working next year.
So Mark, your focus point was satellite?
No. I think it was interesting, for some project we were involved. I think it's really good to be in parts where there is no connectivity and there will not be connectivity.
And so your preferred booth or preferred startup you've seen yesterday? What's your choice?
Well, it's a mix. So it's good to see startups ramping up as well. But I think for me, I'm a little bit business oriented sometimes, and it was good to see companies starting to. We saw Sensolus as well partnering with Alps.
Yeah.
For example, not to competitors, but reaching different markets. How they partner up to reach a bigger market with really good technology. we saw things like that that shows that the IoT market it's evolving and it's getting into something real. I think we are avoiding leaving these disillusionment plateau, and getting into something more real.
That's cool. And Claudio, what was your preferred booth?
A mix also for me, but it's interesting how you can solve the same problem spending a lot of money less. For example, the water metering system. So you are moving from something that costs a lot to a lot of sensor, so you can have information more distributed, a better idea with a lower price.
Yeah, right.
So you can solve the same problems already solved in a way that you are more precise, more detailed, with a price that is 100, 1,000 less. So
cool.
Okay.
Cool. So guys, now it's time to reach the second day. Thank you all to join the podcast, and
Thank you very much.
We have some other like this. It was really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening IoT Decoded podcast. I give you a rendezvous for next month. I don't know if it's going to be just before Christmas or just after Christmas, depending on news and also my planning. I wish you a really great end of November, beginning of December, and I recommend you to continue to take a look to my post on www.dask91.com.